it's an introduction. So let's see. There are 3 topics there. I will be covering the MuleSoft Platform APIs for Postman. With that said, I will then hand over to Amir, and with that we begin. So the first thing that we need to remember is the software development lifecycle in MuleSoft. You have the different stages for software development lifecycle in the bottom right: designing, development, operations, release. And sometimes it's called API development lifecycle and whatsoever. You can clearly see the different products, MuleSoft products that are attached. That's not why we're here today. Let's think about in what happens next when you're thinking as in a pipeline. You have your roles in the left, you have API designers, you have developers, you have the MuleSoft products, design center for API specifications and so forth, Exchange for your assets, and Anypoint Studio has your IDE. And in the middle, that's the part we want to talk about. You have different tooling from the CI/CD tooling that you require for your automations to mature your automation. Source code management, it could be automated testing for your unit tests, it could be automatic build of your packages, storing the packages somewhere else. And the key part for now, let's think about deploy. How you deploy to the Anypoint platform using curl commands, HTTP request. How do you programmatically deploy to the Anypoint platform? That is the question, right? There are 3 main ways to do that. You know about them. You have the Mule Maven plugin. It's the easiest way to do it, but it's the less flexible. And it's also only focused on deployments. The case before, we think about deployments. But what happens with API Manager when you are going to Exchange, automating your metadata, when you're thinking about access management, when you think about dedicated load balancers, Mule Maven plugin is not enough. You think about Anypoint CLI, which is a recommended wrapper for many use cases. It's easy to use, still easy to use. It's well documented and it's more flexible, but it's always going to be behind platform APIs. And there may be functionality that is available in platform APIs, but not in the Anypoint CLI. That's what takes us to the last scenario, that is Anypoint Platform APIs. It's harder to start with, but it offers you the most flexible implementation. So far, so good. I know a bit basic, but I want everyone to be in the same level. So here, there are 2 things that we're trying to release today. It's not a MuleSoft product release, it's an open source tooling that different employees, mainly we're thinking about Amir, Ivan, and myself at this point, release for you to help you accelerate how you adopt platform APIs. With that said, there's 2 resources in the screen. The workspace, postman.com/MuleSoft-API, and there's the videos. They will be in the slide, the URL. You will see it later on. If we think about the use cases, why would you want to use platform APIs? You need to think about more mature processes, right? There are in the screen, you can see 8. Think first, the first one, changing alerts programmatically in Runtime Manager. Maybe you want to programmatically create, update, and manage your alerts. Maybe it's the second point, display a health status page for all your applications deployed in production on Cloudhub. Or maybe you want to get the latest updates available for each supported runtime version. And by doing that, then you want to automatically apply the update or patch to your non-production environment and run a regression test all automatically without you doing anything else. Those are some scenarios and use cases when you think about platform APIs. There's many more than the ones that we're displaying. Now, when you think about platform APIs, this is the portal hosted in Exchange. You do have in the screen a little bit hard to see, but there's the Exchange API, Cloudhub API, and sometimes we have seen customers struggle, especially to start with these platform APIs. What we're proposing here is to have a Postman API, Postman for MuleSoft Platform APIs collection that will follow this UI. You can see this UI in Anypoint Platform, Design Center, Exchange, Management Center, Access Management, API Manager. It follows a structure. You are familiar with that structure. So why not have a resource similar to this where you are able to follow that same structure, you're familiar with it, and you can also make the calls directly to your using the platform APIs in Postman. Has many customers are actually using Postman as well for integration tests when you include Newman. So with that said, I try to be very brief. It's a demo time. Let me show you actually how that looks like here. This is the postman.com MuleSoft-API. This is all explained in the YouTube tutorials, but what I want to show you is very quickly what are the results and how you can fork it. We already explained why would you use it. So let's dive into the Anypoint Platform API here. This is the account, and we're going to jump into one of the collections, Anypoint Platform APIs. It will take a little bit to load. This is the Postman browser. It's all on my bandwidth, actually. Let's see. It's loading. It's loading. And you're going to see this is a workspace, MuleSoft Platform APIs. This is the Postman collection with what we're talking about. Design Center, Exchange, Management Center, Access Management, API Manager, and so forth. If you want to see an overview, and how to use it, you do have all the instructions here. You also have the links to the video tutorials, and it's all displayed there, as well as the very basic. When you start with, you need to log in, you need username and password or client apps. You get an access token. With that access token, you make a request of user details and you can get your organization ID. And then with that access token organization ID, you can get environment ID and so forth and so forth. So very basic. You click here. This is the collection. This is all Postman web version. You're able here to fork that collection. You can fork into your workspace. Let's call it new fork of MuleSoft Platform APIs. Don't worry about the. And we're going to put it in what we call my workspace. While that one is forking, remember that you have two parts on a Postman collection. You have the collection itself, and you also have the environment. You want to fork as well the environment that is in that same workspace. So we come into environment. You are going to fork it in this way, fork environment, and you copy to your workspace. We can call it however we want. In this case, very quickly, we're trying to do a brief session. We copy to the my workspace as well. Now, in that time, our fork was already created. It's created directly into my workspace. I do have the first thing that we always want to do is to log in into the platform so that we can get the token. I'm going to use here, you need to see in the right, there's the environment. I select the environment. There are two, the one that we just created and one that has my username and password already. You can see this is going to change soon. Let's see, there should be that one, and we can try to make the login. We hit login, and in this case, the Cloudhub agent is not working. This is on Postman fault. Use the desktop agent. Don't worry. Imagine something like that could happen. We come here. We do authentication, login, and we're going to hit and try it. You can get an invalid CSV token. Usually you won't get this. In the case that you get it, you just need to delete the cookies. Don't worry. And you send the request again. Excellent. Typical when you're doing a demo, things, let's see now. Let's try it again. And there you go. You get the access token. This is storing your variables, and then you can use it for the other requests. With that, we conclude the demo of the Postman MuleSoft Platform APIs in the Postman workspace, in the Postman collection, and I will hand over to you, Amir. In the meanwhile, we will accumulate the questions and we will answer after Amir's session.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Amazing, Angel. So let me share now my screen. And yeah, I will share the governance gSpreadsheet today with you. And I've used the Postman collection pack to build this. So what was the use case? I will describe this just in a minute. To my person, my name is Amir Khan, as you have, Uncle has been introducing me. So I'm not the Bollywood actor, as this name is very famous, and also not the British boxer. So I'm a solution engineer at MuleSoft, and quite new, I would say, since 5 months. And I've been working with Angel very closely and with Ivan on this Postman collection pack. And the idea for using it was the use case with the governance gSpreadsheet. So as a solution engineer, what I am doing daily is a lot of demos for our customers. And sometimes I build something special for a customer with data graph or the different portals with a specific customer dedicated use case. And even the trials expired, I wanted to track it somehow. I wanted to really know what I have done at customer A and how I've done it. Maybe I could reuse it at customer B. So this was something which I was requiring. So documenting within a governance sheet was not an option because it was a lot of manual work. So I thought maybe it would make sense to automate it with Google Spreadsheet. And the result was this governance sheet. So what we are going to see today is a demo of this Google gSpreadsheet, how it is built and how you can build it for your implementation later on. As we have enough time, so I will take the time to slowly walk you through the sheet and how you can access and build this sheet. So first of all, as Google uses app script functions, so JavaScript functions in the background. So this is based on JavaScript functions which are consumed for as GSpread formulas. So this is super cool because it can automate a lot of things, not only platform APIs, but generally any kind of REST APIs. But the functions I will introduce today are more focusing on the platform APIs. You can simply reuse it. If you want to extend it for other APIs, you need to modify it. So what we are going to do is we will go to GitHub, where I have shared this app script functions in my Git repository. So it's called Fetch Platform APIs. I saw that in the chat the link was shared. So this will be the repository we will access and use the functions which has been created there and build a small set of sheets where we will fetch data from the platform API. So the first thing is accessing the app script functions on GitHub. Then I will create a blank sheet and set up the fundament using the extension of Google's spreadsheet and pasting in the app script functions, which we have accessed from the GitHub repository. Then we will create two sheets where, first of all, we are going to build a credential sheets where you will enter your URL, username, password, and this credential sheet will own a token, and this token will be used across all other data we want to retrieve. Yeah? So automation is in the mindset here, and then the next sheet we are going to create is the user information sheet. So I will fetch data for the user who's logging in and just display a couple of information to show you how the concept works. And then I will show you the full implementation of this gSpreadsheet. So it's super useful for administrators, but also if you have experimented in several trials with Anypoint platform and you played around and you want to really things, then this is also something you can use. Or if you want to just monitor and track what are the runtime manager APIs you have deployed or API manager APIs, you can build a dedicated sheet using these formulas. So let's go into the demo and see how it is working. So first of all, what I've already created is an empty demo sheet. And in this sheet, we are going to build different kind of, in this workbook, we are going to build different kind of sheets for accessing the platform APIs. The first thing we need to do is we need to go to the extension, to the app scripts, and now it will open the app script of my Google workbook. And now I can go to the API activist, github.com/API-activist. Then you will come to this page. You click on the Fetch Platform APIs. And here you have a detailed description. So everything what I'm going to show you is documented here in the README. So you can follow this step by step and build the same on your side and even extend it for your further needs. Once you are here, what you will require is this code.gs. It contains 3 functions. So what you will do is you will copy all the content of this file and go to the app scripts, select everything, remove it, and paste what you have copied here. And what you will end up is you will end up with 3 functions which will be acting as formulas for you, which you will use. So first and most important function is the fetch token function here. And this fetch token function uses input URL, username, and password. And as the name suggests, it returns the token of the platform APIs. And then you can use the fetch JSON or fetch JSON with headers, because sometimes with runtime manager, you need to provide also the organization ID and environment ID. But these functions have 3 main parameters like URL, the token, which you have received in the first function, and a XPath. This is really the information you need from the JSON which has been returned. So I will show you in detail how this XPath is working. But this is the general concept what we are going to apply on our Google Sheet. So let's go here first. And as I mentioned, I want to build 2 different sheets. So the first one will be credentials, and the second one will be user information. So these are the 2 sheets I've created. And the idea is that whenever I enter my username and password in the credential sheets, it should update all the different sheets I have in this workbook and automate the whole fetching information of the current state of your platform from your Anypoint platform. So let's see what we need for the credential sheet is the URL. We need the username. We need the password. And of course, we need the token. Yeah. So these are the parameters I would now enter here. So let's first enter the URL, which is anypoint.mulesoft.com. By the way, the font size is okay for you for the sharing? Okay, otherwise I can also zoom in if it makes sense. So let's go a bit bigger here. And then my user will be meetup -11 2021. Password is basically similar. So this, and if you don't want to show it, I will just hide it here. And then here you have the token, which first of all need to be generated. And what we can do now is we can use the functions we have pasted in here. Don't forget to press the save button. Yeah? And now we are going to use the fetch token function to first retrieve the token from the platform. Yeah. So let's enter here fetch token. And what you can do now is just provide the input what you have entered here and press enter, and it will or should return the token itself. It can take some time because my Google Chrome browser is super hungry today, eating a lot of memory. So let's see. Yeah, so we received a token. This is now good because I can always now enter here a different user with a different password, and it will bring me the token for the dedicated user. So this is good. So now I want to retrieve user information for my next sheet. And here I'm going to go to the platform APIs, as Angel already showed. What I did so far is logging into the platform. So like this, I have just fetched this token. Yeah. And what I will need now is get profile information. Yeah. So user information dedicated to that profile means I need to have this extension next to the URL. So this is important. And then I will fetch the data from here. So let's agree we fetch the first name, we fetch the last name, and maybe we also fetch some nested information like organization. Organization name could be one we can fetch, or even more like organization, subscription, and category. So this is on the second level in the hierarchy. So let's see how you are going to fetch this information. We return back to our user information sheet, and let's write down what we need. We need the first name, we need the last name of this user, we need what we said was the org name, and we will also need the subscription category. Let's use it. So now what we will use is the second function. Yeah, so fetch token, we received the token, and now we are going to use the second function by providing the URL, token, and XPath. So let's start directly with the first name equals fetch JSON. And now I need to refer where the URL is. Yeah? So you remember we had the URL entered here. So it's not in this one, but in the second column. So there is the URL. Plus I have copied the profile extension. You remember I need the base URL, which I have entered here in the second cell. Plus I need this account API profile extension of the URL to fetch the right data set. And now after this, I need the token, which is also here. So amazing, I can use it. And the next thing what I need is the data. Yeah. So when we go back again here, what we have entered is URL. We have the token. Now I need to enter XPath. So XPath would be, in my case, for first name, it will be just first name. Because it's on the level 0, it's directly available. So I can use it here as first name. And that would be it. Now you can see it has fetched my name, right? So I can see, okay, this is good. I will now just put the dollar in front of the fixed values so they don't change if I apply the range here. So I can now use it for last name as well. Currently it has copied exactly the same formula, but now I can start changing it. So for the second cell, I can now say I want to change this into last name. Last name is Khan. Let's see, last name is Khan. So this is good. So what else? Then I said I need organization and name. So the org name is meetup. Yeah. So how I'm going to access this nested data is I go here again. This is fixed. URL is fine. And here I can just say organization name / and name. And it should come up with meetup. And the next one is easier. I need the subscription category. Again, I go back to Postman. I have the level 0 node, which is organization. Level 1 node is subscription. And then I have the category where I have the developer in. So let's put it in here. Level 0 is organization / subscription / then you have the category. That would be it. In this way, I have simply retrieved the data for the profile information. And the cool thing about this simple tool now already is, if I go here and let's say I change this to 10. Yeah, so the data you will see it's not working because here it is throwing an error. Everything is gone. So this is an old user, and here I will just enter name and correct password, it will generate the token for me and the right information for this user. So it's not meetup anymore, it's meetup 10. And in this way, you can add additional sheets using the Postman resources. You can access the right data and build your sheets, where I have built a more complex sheet, which I want to share with you, which will be this one. And here you can see I have already hidden my password. So I just need to enter the username. And you can see I have here on the bottom couple of things. So I have the credentials, I have the user information. I have also inserted error handling. So if it's not connecting and throwing an error, it just say if error on this function, just say not connected. Yeah. So it is implemented throughout. Design center sheet, you have the exchange assets, API manager, runtime manager. And now I can just enter the information or my user here. American MuleSoft, that would be it. And wait for some time based on how fast Google is able to get the token. So now you can see it retrieve already the token. And the token is also really using the URL, username, and the password. And if everything is fine, it comes back with the token. Otherwise, it will say not connected to the Anypoint platform. All the rest of the sheets are going to be filled now. So you can see the user information has been fetched already. I can go to the environments. It's getting there. Yeah, so you can see in this case, I'm even faster. So it's getting there. It's retrieving the sandbox name information, um, organization ID, production type, client ID. So it's just an example. You can see client ID and the ID of this environment has been retrieved. The type is sandbox. So it's really filling now the information. Production is false, and the organization ID I retrieve here as well. In design center projects, I can already see it's completed. So it has listed all the different information. Exchange, for sure, I have done some effort to put it in a way which looks more appealing to me. I can see exactly what are the assets I have published at this moment of time. What are the public assets, true and false, which one are deprecated, which one are still published, what is the rating even on these assets, who was the user who created this assets. So all these information are available also in the API manager. What are the APIs on the API manager which are deployed? You can see here also the number of the gateways, and in runtime manager, as my trial is expired, so all the different provisioned APIs has been deprecated and destroyed. But this is the way you would use these fetch platform APIs functions and build your own Google Sheet using the Postman collection pack. Okay, that was it, what I was planning to show. Back to you, Angel.
Excellent, Amir. We have a couple of questions for the presentation. There is one coming from Guna Nidhi. I apologize for the pronunciation of your name. How many API calls are we making to populate the user info in the sheet? It's the same question that Kevin and Tony were asking as well.
Okay, so this is a super question, and I have to admit it's per cell as of now, because the functions I've built here on the fetch platform APIs are built really to feed in the cells information. Of course, you can make it more simpler by calling additional or sub functions and just retrieving all the data from one resource and then fetching it, storing it into a variable or even into a cell, and then filling it out. But currently, the way it is being implemented is per cell where you enter the formula, the API call is fired to the server.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for that, Amir. I'm guessing the concerns come from the performance-wise, et cetera, related to that. And that's what the questions were asked. There's another one coming on what is app script?
App script is similar to when you go to Excel, you have VBA, Visual Basic Script. App script is similar. It's an extension where when you are on Google Sheet, click on app script, and this is like JavaScript. So it is JavaScript. So you can write any kind of JavaScript functions within app script, and it will formulate these functions as formulas to be used directly here in Google Sheet.
Okay, thank you for that, Amir. It's pretty clear. There's another comment. Does it add rows automatically in the asset sheets, for example? I think we
Does it
covered that.
does it add what?
If it's adding rows automatically in the assets tab.
This is a good question. So you have to fill out each of these lines, yeah. But once you have written the formula, you saw I've done it with the dollar, and then in this one it's the bad example, I would say. But here you can see with the dollar you can put it, and you can then just put it like here, scroll it down, and it will populate all things. So you have to maintain the very first row intelligently, of course, and then just apply the the drag and drop formula function on the cells, and it will apply all to the rows you have selected in the range.
Got it. Thank you for that, Amir. There's another one coming. If it's possible to port the solution to Excel spreadsheets, if there's any way.
So what you can do is, as a Google Sheet, you can always export the data, if you want to download, export, or export to Excel. But it will not apply the app scripts. It will just take the simple sheet, export it into Excel, but you don't have the advantage of the app script of Google. With VBA, it's much difficult to communicate with REST APIs. It's possible, but it's a different story.
We have a last one from Tony that is related. Is there any easy way to coax the spreadsheet to reissue the platform API calls to refresh the data in the sheet after it has become stale?
What does it mean with stale?
I believe it's Tony. Are you referring to some specific period of time for the data?
Okay, maybe I think I know what he means. So if he's referring, so I have now fetched the information for this user, right? And how often this get refreshed? Could this be the info? The question?
1 second. Yes, if you make change to say the make change in, let's say, runtime manager, and you want to update the spreadsheet.
Okay, so if you want to immediately update, you can go here and just remove the T and change the username and do it again. Otherwise, what I experienced after, how long is a token valid? Angel, do you know it?
I believe it's
Up to an hour.
An hour. Okay, so after an hour, it get automatically refreshed, because this is, I don't know how they do it in Google Sheet, but it's polling somehow. And I experienced a couple of times when I was developing this, that the token get refreshed when it's expired. So here, those functions are always polling if somehow the token is still valid, and it updates the information latest after an hour. Yeah. Otherwise, the ad hoc way is to really remove the user, enter it again, and that's it.
Okay, Amir, I think we have a lot of good feedback, actually. I wanted to give, there's a very good feedback. There's a couple of points that we need to explore as well around platform APIs. One was related to API instance. If we can show creating an API instance and getting back the app ID. That was another question from Ryan for the platform APIs session. I'm not sure at this point if we do have the API manager side. Amir, I don't know if you remember.
I think we have it. So the question is about creating an API from the platform APIs, or?
Yes, creating an API instance, which is very likely related to API management, and getting back the app ID, because we can do it by implementation and we can do it by API manager. We're
Yeah,
still
it is
have.
there. It is
Sorry.
there.
Yeah.
So it's like create API from Exchange. You can do it, or you can upload a jar using Postman. So it will create the API and retrieve the app ID as a response.
Yeah, and it's also pending on our backlog to release a video related to the API management promotion. Some examples with the platform APIs as well. It's already added, Ryan. Abhinav was also asking, we disclosed the other round of session that was related if we can get access token in case of SAML SSO. From what I remember in the implementation of a big bank, you should be able to make a call and get the SAML assertion token. I'm not sure if there's any other restrictions because right now there's 2 points. We think about multi-factor authentication. That's one thing. So username and password wouldn't work. And the other one, or you will need some extra step. And the other one is related to client apps. If you're thinking about automation users, that would be the way to go.
Exactly.
With that, I'm going to add as well the links to the client apps here because I have seen it in plenty of customers that is missing, just as a heads up. And with that, I think we're ready, Ivan, for your excellent session. We're very eager to see it. It has been a lot of brainstorming so far. And with that, we're going to open up for you.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Mir, for this presentation. And thanks for everyone for staying that late. So now it's time for the cloud automation tool and the MVP that we've built. So basically, earlier this year, some of us, some architects and consultants within EMEA, MuleSoft services, joined forces and thought of how we can basically ease our life and create some sort of a new way of automating the Anypoint and Cloudhub setup. So we basically wanted to go beyond just automating it, but creating the platform setup as infrastructure as code. We also wanted to generate like a new way, like another open source layer of building blocks for us, for our partners, for our customers, to essentially automate automate the platform through a new way of client libraries. We wanted to reduce the time that it takes that setup, and also remove some of the mundane tasks that we usually perform when landing at a customer, setting up a platform for a first time. From Angel's also presentation, you might saw that we already have some sort of capabilities. We have the platform APIs, we have the Anypoint CLI, but we wanted to take a step further and create a user interface that is going to be a bit easier for even like a non-technical user to actually use and implement going forward. So one of our future points is to sort of create a point and click solution where we, after the initial gathering of how the overall platform architecture and platform setup should look like, we can basically fill in all the details, submit that feed, and generate the platform setup. So where are we in terms of our journey? So we essentially start with currently we are at the MVP phase. We created initially a prototype that was creating organizations or business groups, environments, roles, and permissions related to those roles. Halfway through that process, we essentially released the Teams feature. So we thought of incorporating the Teams feature as well within the MVP as well. And how did we achieve this? After like debating between ourselves of shall we just create another sort of CLI we essentially decided that we are going to try and use an industry standard of how you can leverage infrastructure as a code, one of which is essentially Terraform. So what we did is we started off by creating resources. All of these business groups, permissions, roles, and environments are essentially different resources in the world of Terraform. And for that, we essentially investigated the how this is essentially done through the platform APIs. And we just needed, for creating a resource or managing a resource through Terraform, we essentially had to have the basic CRUD operations: get, post, put, delete. So we captured those from the platform APIs. We documented it. A byproduct of all of our effort is actually yet another Postman collection, which we later on incorporated back and contributed back to what Angel and Amir have been working on. And then through all of these resources, we essentially created the Anypoint Terraform provider. So in general, the architecture is as simple as this. We use the core Terraform features. We used essentially the platform APIs, and we auto-generated and built a Go client library on top of them. Then we essentially built the Anypoint provider plugin that it's invoked by the core Terraform functionality. So with that, without further ado, here is the essential demo of it, how the tool actually looks like. So initially what we thought that the easiest way of interacting with it, because we wanted to not only technical users, but even at some point, people that are not familiar even with Terraform can essentially pick this up and set up the platform. We essentially thought that all of the different resources, we can put them within CSV files. So as part of the demo, what we'll do is we are going to create business groups, environments, a few teams, and associate roles and members with them, as well as creating a user on top of the platform. All of these CSVs are essentially read within the data Terraform file, which is later on consumed by the resources. In general, if you're familiar with Terraform, you can essentially pick and choose which sort of and create your own templates, and you can pick and choose what resources you want to create and manage through Terraform. As I said at the minute, the resources that the Terraform provider itself is supporting is just the ones that are part of the MVP: business groups, environments, teams, users, and roles. So let's have a look at what we are actually going to create. So in the CSV, we essentially have a simple business group, with name Terraform. I'm going to be the owner. We are basically going to allow different permissions, and we are going to assign vCores against it. We can assign different VPCs, load balancers, and VPNs if we needed to. Then we're going to create a few environments that are related to that same business group. Two of them are going to be of some type of sandbox. The other one is going to be production. We're going to create an initial team level, which is like platform admins, and a Terraform team under which we will create additional teams like org admin, Terraform consumers, developers, operations, testers. So the aim with the tool itself is to also provide us with a way of enforcing specific best practices. One of which is essentially what sort of structure we should have as within teams. What sort of permissions, let's say, these teams can have, or essentially should have, and through providing these templates, we can essentially enforce and try to provide the best practices to our customers and partners, as well as internally. And in terms of roles, there are a lot of roles that we essentially are going to assign to each teams and to their essential environments. So overall, we are also going to create one user with a username, a simple password, telephone, and all of that. Now, from all of this, yeah, before I essentially trigger it, I'm first going to show you that my Anypoint environment is completely blank, or I just have the normal setup that I usually have. So that's my own account. As you can see, I have no teams created under my core team. I have a few business groups, but the Terraform business group is not there. And I also have some users that I've set up myself, but the Terraform user that I showed you within the CSV file is not yet there. Now, what does it take to essentially apply this, apply all of this? You basically need Terraform installed on your machine. You basically need to pass a few parameters. All of them are within a params.tfvars.json. I have my password there, so I'm not going to open it up. But Terraform itself is essentially reading this file and applying it. So to get started within the variable TF file, you set up the username, the password. They're being read from the JSON parameter file. You also need to pass an owner's ID. You can essentially pass the control plane. The control plane, we do support both the US and the EU control planes. The root organization that you have, the root team org ID, and everything else is just being set up. So without further ado, I'm going to run Terraform apply. And for those of you that are familiar with Terraform, this is essentially going to generate the execution plan for what is going to be pushed onto the platform. And after reviewing it, if we say that we are happy with it, we can just type yes. And Terraform is going to execute all of its magic, really. So apply complete, 22 resources created. And now if I refresh my view, we can see that the user TF user 4 that was within essentially my CSV file was actually created. Within business groups, we essentially do have the Terraform business group created, and there are an additional 3 environments created for it. In teams, we have the platform admins, the Terraform teams. Just need to double check where and who I applied the role to, but we have various permissions being set as a developer. So as a developer within Terraform and within the Terraform business group in the development environment, any user that it's part of this team is going to get all of these permissions. And we see that we have the TF user 4 assigned to that team. One other thing is, I think if I open up the admins, no, it's not the admins group. Let me double check. Team members, yep. Yeah, so the level 1. Within the platform admin, I've basically assigned a user that Terraform didn't create. This is my own user that was created even prior to Terraform being executed. But because Terraform reads all the available resources, you can assign certain permissions and roles to any of your existing users as well. So that was really the demo. How you can basically get started. So you can basically go to GitHub and you can fork the template Git repo that we've created. Safe Harbor, essentially, this is a community initiative from within MuleSoft. We are trying to open it up. We are also working with the wider organization and looking at how we can open source the solution and get more feedback from the community. The current projects are still public, yeah, but they're hosted within the MuleSoft consulting GitHub repo. We're essentially looking at how we can follow a process and get them recognized and moved to the MuleSoft organization and being recognized as a open source project from MuleSoft perspective. You can still fork these repositories. You can contribute to them. You can test. We also have other repositories that are still open and you can still contribute against, as I said, the Cloudhub automation Postman collection, where we put all of the CRUD operations required for a resource before we auto generate the client that it's used by the Anypoint provider. The repository is also here, it is well public. So yeah, feel free to play around and contribute. If you have any issues, please submit them or questions further down the line, just submit them as issues on GitHub. Thank you.
Very, very good, Ivan. We were actually having a couple of questions that were around how to contribute, and as
Great.
you explained, it's well, if you can do that again.
Yes, so essentially I can provide you with links to all of these repos. Yeah, I think if any of you can essentially hit the link and let me know if they're able to open it up, as all of these repositories are actually public.
Yeah, at least I can as well. And it seems that the community was already finding some of the repos, but your link also has the 6 of them, so it's far better. Yeah, excellent.
Good.
Thank you for that.
Good. So yeah, these are all the repositories that we are basically working as a team. Yeah, the process is quite simple. We start off with identifying the various platform API CRUD operations. then we auto generate the client libraries. Well, there is a bit of work on that, and then we incorporate it into the provider. And the rest is essentially up to user to identify what they actually want to automate and create their own templates. We are also going to, as we go forward, we are also going to look at creating even more templates for the community to essentially use.
Even if there are, as you said, there's two ways. They can pop it in the chat right now, and we will capture them if they have ideas or recommendations or priorities that they would like to be considered. You can drop it in the chat now, or
yeah, I don't think. In general, we do have a project backlog, but I'm not sure if that's public. Essentially, we can look at creating some sort of a public roadmap that maybe people that are interested can also contribute towards. Yeah, that's a good idea, good point.
Yeah, because otherwise the way is to open the issue within each of the repos, right? Open GitHub issue as a GitHub.
Yeah.
Nice. We have a lot of good feedback from the community, and actually Ryan Hoeg has said 3 times, Ivan. So that is he's your stakeholder, super impressed, and he's asking for TLBs. If TLBs,
yeah, TLBs is actually on the roadmap. I think we did play with it a bit. We also have the Anypoint MQ setup as well, but they just didn't make the cut to the MVP. We really tried to focus on the core sort of initial setup of the platform, gather some feedback, test the waters, as we say, and then move forward.
Got it. Thank you for that, Ivan. There's also Kevin Jervis was recommending the DLBs as a priority, and the ability to manage the mapping rules as infrastructure IAC will be very helpful. I will add that one as well, Ivan, and share it with you after. Excellent, excellent. Okay, community, do we have any other questions for Ivan? Comments, questions, things that you like about the session? This is the chance. Yeah, a lot of good feedback, Ivan. I will pass it as well. Excellent work. Thank you very much, Kevin. Excellent. Thank you, Jajas Winnie. Okay, community. With that, if there's nothing else, we're going to conclude our session for today, 10 minutes earlier. Thank you very much once again, Ivan, Amir, Philippe, and Gonzalo for the great sessions. And yes, the recordings will be posted by tomorrow, plus the slides, and you already know how to submit your feedback. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.